Hey guys, welcome back. I have something pretty cool to show you guys today. I'm going to be showing you how to wire up your wideband so you can record your air-fuel ratios while data logging in your car. So I have a 2008 supercharged Mustang GT with a 680 swap. When you go boosted, not necessarily need boost to do this, but checking air-fuel ratios is pretty critical. And if you're going to be doing any type of racing, usually taking data logs is pretty important, especially when you're tuning your car. My Mustang is tuned by Lido. I use a X4 tuner. This process isn't going to be exact for pretty much anything. This is going to be pretty much for an SCT tuner. That doesn't mean that, say you're using HP tuners, a lot of the controllers that the manufacturers use for the widebands will just go right into working with HP tuners. So I'm not using HP tuners, I'm using one of these guys. So your mileage may vary, you just need to kind of adjust a couple things, but it's all generally the same. So this should pretty much be a universal guide for what you're going to be doing. I personally have a ProSport wideband gauge. We've done a lot of work with ProSport. We have a discount code. If you use the code JURYRIG at checkout, you'll get 10% off your purchase, which is pretty awesome on one of these units. This is their digital series. It's pretty budget friendly. You get a Bosch LSU 4.9 sensor. You get the gauge pod. You get the harness, which includes this little guy, which makes this whole thing possible. And then the module, that's actually kind of the magic there. So with this, I have already installed the wideband on my car. If you're interested on how to install a wideband gauge on your car, check the description. I also have a video somewhere on here of me installing it, so you guys can do that. That is completely universal. My Mustang wasn't even boosted at that point, so it's any car, it should work like that. These kits include welded-in bungs, so that way you don't need to have something like this. But this would also work. You just drill a hole, wrap around your pipe, and it does have some insulating part inside, and then you can add your O2 to your exhaust. I will also have links in the description to these types of sensors. I believe it came on like a Toyota Corolla or something, but it's the same 5-pin sensor and it actually works. I used it for a little bit before I got a replacement Bosch unit to use. So if you're in a pinch, you can use a cheap option. But basically, for the premise of this, what you're going to want to do is the module that's recording the air fuel levels has outputs on it. If you check this diagram that ProSport provides, you have the line that goes from the sensor to the sensor. You have one that goes to the gauge for display, and then you have the controller harness that powers it. They also include the analog harness for output. And this has a black, brown, and green line. And then on number 7 of the instructions, that has the readouts. So the black wire on this is for engine ground. The brown is for wideband analog output, and then green is for the narrowband output. So you can, record both. Seems like brown is the important one, but you can certainly wire up both because this has analog 1 and 2, so you can actually record both narrowband and wideband. Taking this into consideration that brown is the wideband analog, we'll put that into analog 1, which is terminal 3, which is the orange line, and then ground. All the grounds can just be wired together and go to a single ground, so somewhere inside your chassis you can ground it. From there it's pretty simple. So I have my Milwaukee soldering iron, have some solder and some rosin, or resin, however you want to pronounce that, some flux. And we're going to go ahead and wire this up, and then we're going to go out to my Mustang, get it plugged in, and then I'll show you the status of the wideband on the LiveLink program that SCT provides. So guys, here is the harness that goes to the ProSport control box. The brown wire is going to go to the orange one there, and then the blue will tie into the black for ground, and then the red will go to the green wire on here, and then the green wire on there will also just go to the ground, and then this black line will go to the ground. The white one says it's +5 EXT, not needed here. So I'm going to go ahead and strip these wires and start soldering on there, and then we'll be able to plug her in and give it a test. Alright guys, so I got the orange and the brown wired together. I also have a wire loom kit here, or sorry, a insulator, tube shrinker, whatever kit. So I have one on there that'll cover that, and then also a large one that's just going to cover everything once we're completed with this. So got that going. I have this heating up here, so what we'll do is, I'll try to set up the camera for this, but you want to basically heat up the actual wire itself. You don't put the solder directly on the tip of the gun here. You kind of just heat this up. It's a good idea to put wax on there, or the resin paste flux. Put some on there. It'll just help the solder get into the grains or the individual strands of the wire, evenly distributes, and then it'll melt in there, creating the bind there. So alright guys, first one is done. It is all soldered together, and I put the shrink tube over it. I'd recommend getting a heat gun. I have a heat gun around here, I just don't know where it is. Or even just get a lighter for this, but I had the blowtorch already, so that was fine. Just don't get too close with it, don't burn it. So now that we have that done, we're gonna wire up the green to the red wire here. I believe that's what it was. Analog 2 is red, yep. So the green will go to the red, kind of same thing, and then the black, blue, and green will get wired to this black here, and then that will have a wire that we need to add that will go to a engine ground, or not engine ground, chassis ground, something, you know, some piece of metal that we can ground it with, which I actually have a block in my car. I added an extra fuse panel for some auxiliary stuff, and I can just ground to that. It's pretty easy. Alright guys, so I got this completed here. We have the red going to the green wire, the orange going to the brown, white's unused, and then the blue, green, and black are going to the black of this harness, and then I have this out here, which I'm just going to extend when I'm going to do the ground. Now that that's complete, I'm going to put this wire loom over the entirety of this. So it actually doesn't look like the one I cut is going to be long enough to cover the entire thing, but I can slip over a new one over the head of this thing, I believe. I'll just be able to add a little bit more to it, so it's going to be totally covered, and once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and test it. But my Mustang's pretty dead right now. I haven't driven it in a while, and the battery's just completely toast, so got the jump box over there charging, and then we're going to go plug it in and see if it works. So for the final ground here, it's useful to buy one of these heat shrink connector kits, basically just an assortment of different sized terminations. There's also butt connectors, but I've pretty much used all of them in this kit. So now I'm just going to go ahead and strip this and crimp this on, and then with this, I mean, you might want to choose a larger one that will be able to go behind a bolt that you remove. I'm going to go ahead and ground it, and then plug it into the controller, and then once plugged into the controller, we'll plug it into the tuner here, the X4 tuner, and then from the tuner to my laptop, and the laptop with the LiveLink, SCT LiveLink program, I should be able to put in the parameters to record for the air-fuel ratios. Hey guys, just before we continue, I wanted to remind you to like the video, it helps it get out, and subscribe to the channel, and let's get back to the work. Alright guys, so I'm all set up in here. Might be kind of hard to see me, it's really glary from what you can see there. But I have the tuner plugged in. Basically I have that lines the ground, and then I actually have my control box in there just behind the carpet here, so I got that plugged into the analog output. So I'm going to go ahead and get the car started. I also have my laptop here. It's going to be pretty much impossible to see what I'm doing on screen, so I'm just going to provide screenshots once this is done. But for now, I'm going to show you basically just from the tuner side here what it shows you. So I'm going to go ahead and start the car up. I already got it. Oh, there you go. See, that's kind of part of my problem. I need new tune for the startup. It just doesn't like it sometimes. Yep. You can kind of ignore all those warnings, but it really rough cold start. And that's kind of the whole reason I wanted to be able to get wideband reading on this, so that we'll be able to tune that out for sure. So now that that's all plugged in, we'll go to the gauges and data log. Go to continue. It'll scan it, and I already have it set on here, so I'll just show you kind of how to do it. So in any of your locations you have it set, however you have it, you just go to gauges, and then the item that you're going to be searching for there, the whole list, there's RPM, there's spark, there's all that good stuff. What you're going to want is the analog orange and red fire wires. So we remember that the orange wire from our FireWire is going to the analog 1 from our wideband over there. So that is going to be our actual wideband reading. And then for the equation, there's a bunch of different equations. I actually didn't try really any of them. I just set it straight to LM1, and that seems to read it. So now you can see at the very top, it is actually reading my air-to-fuel ratio. So you can see it's like jumping between about 14.5 to 15.5, all the way up to 16. Kind of shows it needs a little bit of tuning, you know. You can see between my controller, or the tuner right there, and then the actual gauge, they're reading just about the same. This one's just a bit more precise since you get the extra, you know, 10th or 100th, whatever. But now, you know, you have it on here, you just now need to be able to get it to read on LiveLink. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug it in here, and then through the helper thing, just say, I wanna data log my car. It'll bring you through the instructions of connecting it. You check the communication with your car to the tuner. Now we go to vehicle info, and this is all fine. We're gonna do used previously validated items list if available. Then we can select the items we wish to record. You can see the progress bar going. And it'll give you like tons of different things that you can check or uncheck. You actually see right at the top, well, I don't know if you can see it, but first one is analog analog in 7, which is red wire, FireWire, and then analog in 8, orange FireWire. And the orange is the one that's doing the wideband. The red's doing the narrowband. Not so important. Alright guys, how to do some tinkering, because there's some formulas you just need to adjust. You can actually go to tools up here and it'll give you a list of the formulas, which is nice. I just took a photo here. LM1 is what we need, so I have it set here. Basically selected right here. You can add a, and before I continue, like I said, I'll show screenshots. The camera footage isn't gonna be that good. Click the add parameters. You add a PID. You can name it. I just named it AFR. And then you go to formula, and I selected the analog in 8 FireWire times 2 plus 10, because right now it's recording in voltage, and that's what the formula is, voltage times 2 and then plus 10. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add that. All right guys, now once you have in the previous screen the analog in 8 orange FireWire, or red, whatever one you're gonna be using, I'm using orange, set to volts, and then you have your new PID that you added with the equation applied to it that's sourcing the analog source, should work. So we're gonna go ahead and start the data log. I have both the analog input and the AFR, which is the calculated one. And you can see right there perfectly. Well, you might not be able to see it. Let me see if I can get this on a graph. Right there, it's recording it, and it's unfortunately, you can see right there, it's like bouncing all around. 15, 16, 15.2, 14, 16. It's jumping all over the place. But now with this, it's data logging it. It'll be able to record it, and you'll be able to send it to a tuner, or you can go over it yourself and, you know, see what it needs. This is pretty much a straightforward process. I'll have like I'll try to write out like step by step what needs to happen, but basically get the FireWire to connect to your wideband. If you have an AEM, basically any wideband should have a analog output. They might even have a serial output, but it's the same type of thing where you will get the, you know, FireWire to it that will connect to a laptop. In this case, it connects to the actual tuner, which connects the laptop with software. If you have HB tuners, you might need a serial cable. I have an example inside the garage I can show you. We use for Fences Trans Am. Tristan's Bonneville uses HB tuners, and this one we also use an analog input. HB tuners actually makes it super simple, but this one, really all you have to do is, you know, add the equation to what you're seeing that it's reporting, because the analog output will just record voltage, and you just apply the equation to it. That's the same reason you have to choose the equation on the tuner as well. If you're recording on the tuner, you have to choose the LM1, and that LM1 is the voltage times 2 plus 10. So there you go, guys. It's working. We're recording our wideband and it's going crazy right now, unfortunately. Dipping all down lean for some reason. There you go. You can see it hit 10 there. Honestly, too, I need to replace my wideband. It's not, for sure not happy. I think the tune's really rich and I think it just fouls it up. So like I said, I have a link to a really cheap one, 5-pin Bosch connector, or you can just buy the actual Bosch connector. Those are much better and, you know, more reliable. But if you're going to be data logging your car, that is how you can, you know, set it up so your laptop can record it. All right, guys, here is what I was talking about for like HB tuners. You get a console cable like this, and it has a pin out here. And you can see we pinned it to 5 and 2, it looks like. We didn't actually end up using this. This was for Tristan's Bonneville. But this works for something like Vince's Trans Am, where he does have a serial connection. It's very similar to the analog setup. Analog is just a little bit better. Serial is just very basic. So guys, that's how you wire up a wideband connection to your data logging, so you can, you know, actually data log your wideband and airfield ratios. It'll help in tuning. I mean, it just makes everything so much easier. You'll be able to see how the car is actually performing and, you know, not just watching a gauge or whatever. It'll be actually recorded and you can use that to, you know, assist in tuning. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Again, you know, we work with ProSport. We have a checkout code with them. Use code JURYRIG to get 10% off your wideband purchase or any other of their gauges. I think that's going to do it. Be sure to like the video, helps it get out, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.